I never thought betrayal could taste like champagne, sharp, bubbly, and gone in an instant, leaving you hollow. My sister's voice sliced through the family dinner like a knife through wedding cake. Gabriel's not just the perfect son. Mom and Dad. He's been lying to all of us. He's gay. The room froze, forks hovering midair. And in that silence, I saw my entire life, the golden boy facade, the Ivy League degree, the corner office at Dad's firm, crumble like the empire I'd built on sand. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that her words weren't just exposing me. They were the spark that would ignite a fire revealing a secret buried deeper than mine, one that would burn us all. It started 6 months earlier, in the sweltering heat of a New York summer that clung to your skin like regret. I was 28, fresh off a promotion at Goldstein and Associates, the family law firm where I'd been groomed since I could spell litigation. Dad called me his golden son, the one who'd carry the legacy, marry some blue-blooded girl from the Hamptons set, and pop out heirs with trust funds bigger than most people's mortgages. Mom doted on me with the kind of love that came wrapped in expectations. Weekly brunches at the Pierre, where she'd whisper about eligible daughters of her bridge club friends. And my little sister, Lila, 19 and sharp as a stiletto, idolized me from afar. Or so I thought. We were the Goldsteins, old money, old secrets, old sins polished to a shine. But beneath it all, I was suffocating. I'd known I was gay since high school, back when I was sneaking crushes on the quarterback instead of the cheerleaders at our all-boys prep school in Connecticut. I'd buried it deep, dated women just long enough to keep up appearances, college flings that fizzled before they could question the spark that wasn't there. By the time I hit the city, I was a master at compartmentalizing boardroom Gabriel by day, anonymous hookups in dimly lit bars by night. No strings, no stories, no slip-ups. Then Daniel walked into my life like a plot twist I never saw coming. It was at a charity gala for the Legal Aid Society, one of those stuffy affairs in a midtown ballroom where tuxedos cost more than a month's rent in Brooklyn. I was schmoozing donors, glass of Macallan in hand, when I spotted him across the room, tall, broad-shouldered, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that held the kind of quiet fire that could level a city. He was a public defender, fresh from Howard Law, fighting for the underdogs while I defended the 1%. Our worlds shouldn't have collided, but fate's a cruel comedian. He approached me during the auction, bidding on a signed first edition of To Kill a Mockingbird. "You're going to let me outbid you on this?" he teased, his voice low and smooth, like bourbon over ice. I laughed, genuine, unguarded, and countered with a higher bid just to keep him talking. By the end of the night, we'd slipped out to the balcony overlooking the glittering skyline, the summer air thick with possibility. "You fight for justice," I said, leaning against the railing, "and I just chase billable hours." "What's that make me?" "Mysterious," he replied, his gaze locking onto mine. "And maybe a little redeemable." That was it, the hook that sank deep. We exchanged numbers under the guise of networking, but by the next weekend, we were wandering the High Line at dusk, hands brushing accidentally on purpose as the city lights flickered on like stars. Daniel was everything I wasn't, unapologetically himself. Raised in a tight-knit family in Harlem where love meant showing up, no matter what. His mom ran a soul food joint on 125th, and he'd grown up with stories of civil rights marches whispered over collard greens. He didn't hide who he was, he owned it, with a pride that both terrified and thrilled me. Our first real date was in Central Park, picnicking under a canopy of oaks that whispered secrets to the wind. He brought fried chicken from his mom's spot, crispy, spiced just right, and I confessed, haltingly, about the walls I'd built. "I'm not out," I admitted, staring at the grass like it held the answers. "My family's Traditional. Dad's firm is all about image. One wrong move, and poof, golden sun turns to fool's gold. Daniel reached for my hand, his fingers warm and steady. Then we take it slow. No pressure. But Gabriel, you deserve to breathe. And in that moment, with the sun dipping low and painting his face in gold, I felt seen, not as the heir, the achiever, but as me. We kissed for the first time there, soft and tentative, the world fading to just us and the rustle of leaves. It wasn't fireworks. It was a quiet unraveling, the kind that stitches your soul back together. From there, it bloomed in stolen moments, late night drives upstate to watch the stars, where we'd lie on a blanket and talk about dreams he had of starting a nonprofit for queer youth in underserved communities, and the quiet ones I harbored of escaping the firm shadow. We'd cook together in his cramped Harlem walk-up, me burning the edges of pancakes while he laughed and salvaged them with a flip. "You're better with contracts than cast iron," he'd say, pulling me close, his laughter vibrating against my chest. Lila noticed something off first. She was crashing in my Upper East Side apartment that summer, interning at a fashion mag and treating my place like her personal salon. "You're glowing, Gabe," she'd say, sprawled on my couch with a magazine, her blonde hair a mess of waves. "Spill, who's the girl?" I'd deflect with jokes about work crushes, but her eyes narrowed, that sibling intuition kicking in. Lila and I had always been close. She was the wild one, the artist in a family of suits, and I'd covered for her rebellions, sneaking her into clubs underage, bailing her out of that shoplifting fiasco at Bergdorf's when she was 16. I thought that loyalty ran both ways. But cracks formed. Dad started pressuring me about settling down, parading potential fiancés at Sunday dinners in our Greenwich estate, sprawling lawns, infinity pool overlooking Long Island Sound, the kind of place that screamed old money. One night, after a particularly awkward setup with a banker named Claire, I vented to Daniel over the phone. "It's like they're auctioning me off. What if they knew? They'd love you less?" His voice was gentle, probing. "Or love you differently?" I didn't answer. Instead, I drove to his place, and we lost ourselves in each other, not in a frantic way of my past, but slow, reverent, like mapping constellations on skin. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, I whispered, "I can't lose them." "Not yet. You won't," he promised. "We'll figure it out." Fall crept in, leaves turning the city into a postcard of rust and amber. Daniel and I stole a weekend away to the Catskills, renting a cabin by a lake that mirrored the fiery foliage. It was there, on that dock at dawn, mist rising like smoke signals, that he asked me to come out with him to his family first. A trial run. They're loud, opinionated, but they've got hearts bigger than Brooklyn, he said, his thumb tracing my jaw. "And I want them to know the man who's got mine." I hesitated, the weight of my world pressing down. But looking into his eyes, that steady brown that held no judgment, I nodded. "Okay. For you." We drove back buoyant, planning a dinner at his mom's. But life, that relentless director, had other scenes in mind. Lila cornered me one evening in the kitchen, her internship turning her restless. "You've been dodging me. Gabe, what's really going on?" I saw the texts. "Can't wait for the lake." "Who's this Daniel guy?" "A client." My blood ran cold. I'd been careful, deleting messages, but she'd glimpsed one on my lock screen. "It's nothing," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just a friend from the gala." She crossed her arms, her green eyes, mirror of mom's, flashing. "Bullshit. You're acting weird. Happy weird. If you're hiding something, tell me." "I'm family." The plea twisted in me. I wanted a God, how I wanted to unburden. but fear clamped my throat. Drop it, Lila. Please. Her face hardened. Fine. Keep your secrets. But don't come crying when they blow up. I should have seen the storm brewing. 2 weeks later, the family dinner at the estate, turkey and cranberry. Crystal gleaming under chandeliers that Dad swore were from Versailles. Lila arrived late, flushed from whatever Manhattan adventure she'd chased. And as dessert hit the table, Mom's famous pecan pie, she dropped the bomb. The room erupted. Dad's face purpled, fork clattering like gunfire. What the hell is this? Lila? Some joke. Mom gasped, hand to her pearls, eyes darting between us like we'd both sprouted horns. Lila stood her ground, voice steady. It's not a joke. Dad. I found pictures on his phone, him and this guy, Daniel, all cozy, kissing, even. Gabe's been lying to us for years. My heart hammered, betrayal sour on my tongue. Pictures? I deleted everything. How? In that instant, I realized she'd gone through my phone while I showered that morning. The trust I'd given her weaponized. Lila, I choked. Why? Because you wouldn't tell me, she shot back, tears streaking her mascara. I had to know. And now you all do. Dad shoved back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Gay, my son, in this family, his voice boomed, echoing off the paneled walls. Mom wept silently, whispering prayers under her breath. Lila looked triumphant, then shattered, like she'd won a battle she didn't want. I bolted, grabbing keys and coat, the cold November air slapping me as I fled to my car. The drive to Daniel's blurred through tears, the city lights smearing into accusations. He opened the door, concern etching his face, and pulled me inside without a word. What happened? Everything, I sobbed, collapsing into him. She outed me. To them. It's over. He held me through the night, his heartbeat a steady drum against my ear. By morning, resolve hardened. I'd face it, call Dad, explain, beg if I had to. But as we sipped coffee at his tiny Formica table, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Attached was a photo, not of us, but of Dad, arm around a man half his age, time-stamped last month in the Hamptons. The message, your family's secrets run deeper. Want the full story? Meet me. A friend. My hand shook. Daniel peered over. Gabe? Who is that? I stared at the screen, the world tilting. The golden sun exposed, and now, the family patriarch's own hidden life cracking open. What the hell had Lila really uncovered? The photo burned into my retinas like a brand. Dad's face unmistakable, smiling, unguarded. His arms slung possessively around a stranger's waist on what looked like the deck of our summer house. The man was younger, maybe early 30s, with a surfer's build and a grin that screamed indiscretion. Timestamp, August 15th, the weekend I'd been in D.C. for a deposition. Mom had been there, hosting her garden club. How? Why? Daniel's hand covered mine, grounding me. Talk to me. Gabe. This isn't random. I handed him the phone, my voice a rasp. It's my father. With someone. A guy. The words hung heavy, laced with the irony of it all. The man who'd built his career on family values clauses and prenups, who'd preach discretion like gospel, unraveling in pixels. Daniel whistled low. Blackmail? From who? No clue. A friend. I paced his living room, the worn Persian rug muffling my steps, posters of Baldwin and King staring down like silent judges. Outside, Harlem buzzed with Sunday life, church bells tolling, kids shouting over stoops, but inside, my world was imploding. Lila must have dug deeper than she let on. Maybe she found this too, and that's why. Why she outed you. Daniel finished, brow furrowed. To deflect? Or get even? I sank onto the couch, head in hands. Lila, my fierce little shadow. The one I'd shielded from Dad's rages after Mom's disappointments, like her failed attempts at a debutante ball. She'd always resented the pedestal I stood on, the way Dad's pride showered me while hers came in drips. But this, weaponizing my truth to expose his, it felt like fratricide. Call her, Daniel urged, sitting beside me, his presence a balm. Get answers before this spreads. My fingers trembled as I dialed. Voicemail. Text. We need to talk. Now. Nothing. Dad's line rang out too. Mom's went to a teary machine begging for clarity. By noon, the family group chat, usually benign updates on brunches and board meetings, exploded with Lila's follow-up. He's lying to you all. Ask him about Daniel. No mention of the photo. Had she held it back? Or was this Cinder playing their own game? We spent the day holed up. Daniel running interference with takeout from his mom's, mac and cheese that hugged like a hug, and quiet talks that peeled back my layers. I grew up hiding too, he admitted, stirring the pot on his hot plate. Black kid in a white world, gay in a church that preached fire and brimstone. But Mom said, God's love don't come with fine print. Took years to believe it. I envied that anchor. Mine's all fine print. Dad's firm represents half the conservative PACs in the state. Coming out isn't just personal, it's professional suicide. He set the spoon down, turning to me with that unflinching gaze. Then fight for what's real. Us. The word us lodged in my chest, warm and terrifying. That night, as rain lashed the windows, we lay entwined, his breath syncing with mine. No grand declarations, just a simple grace of bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long separated. I love you, he murmured into the dark, and I echoed it back, the confession freer than air. Monday dawned gray, the city slick with regret. I called in sick, first time in years, and met Daniel at a coffee shop in Chelsea. Neutral ground with exposed brick and the hum of baristas drowning secrets. Over lattes, we dissected the photo, geotags placed it at our estate. The man identified via a quick reverse image search as Tyler Voss, a yacht broker from the Hamptons scene. No public ties to Dad, but whispers in society pages of discreet affairs. Confront him, Daniel said, but dread coiled in my gut. Instead, I texted the unknown number. Who is this? What do you want? Reply truth. Coffee? Washington Square Park. 3 p.m. Come alone. I went, heart pounding like a war drum. The park was alive with NYU kids hawking zines and buskers strumming Dylan. But my eyes locked on a figure on a bench. Not Lila. Not a ghost from my past. But Aunt Vivian, Dad's older sister. The black sheep who'd fled the family fold after a nervous breakdown in the 90s. Now, a bohemian therapist in the village with silver streak hair and eyes like chipped emeralds. Viv, I stammered, dropping beside her. She looked older, lines etched by time and tobacco, but her hug was fierce, smelling of patchouli and resolve. Gabriel, my boy, she squeezed my hand. I've watched from afar too long. Lila reached out, confessed everything after the dinner. She's a mess. Kid. Guilt eating her alive. The pieces slotted. Lila hadn't just snooped. She'd confided in Viv, the one relative who'd always sent me queer lit for birthdays, wild hidden in Austin bindings. The photo, Viv sighed, pulling out a faded envelope from her bag. Your father's not the villain you think. Or maybe he is. This has been going on for years, discreet weekends. Alibis I helped craft when your mom was at charity balls. I covered for him because, well, the Goldsteins don't air laundry. But when Lila told me about Daniel, I saw my chance. Expose the hypocrisy. For you all, rage bubbled, hot and righteous. You used my coming out as leverage? That's not freedom. That's cruelty. Her eyes softened. It's a mirror. Gabe, your dad's terrified of losing the firm, the facade, you. But he's loved you fiercely, in his broken way. And that man, Tyler, he's no fling. They're in love. Real, messy love. Just like yours. The park spun, leaves skittering like accusations. Love? Dad, the stoic patriarch who'd grounded me for AB in ethics. Entangled in the same web I'd spun, it humanized him, shattered him. What now? Go home, Viv said, pressing the envelope into my palm. Letters, photos, a timeline of Dad's double life. Show him. Force the conversation. Or burn it. But choose. Gabriel. Before it chooses you. I left the park dazed. The envelope a lead weight in my coat. Daniel met me at my apartment. Lila's stuff cleared out. A post-it on the fridge. Sorry. Call me. We sat on the balcony overlooking the East River. Ferries cutting wakes like scars. I spilled it all. The words tumbling like dominoes. Daniel listened, then pulled me close. This family's a house of cards. But you're the one who can rebuild it. Or walk away. That night, decisions loomed like storm clouds. I drafted emails to Dad, to Lila, apologies and indictments intertwined. But sleep evaded. Daniel's snores a soft counterpoint to my turmoil. By dawn, resolve crystallized, confrontation, not combustion. The drive to Greenwich was a blur of parkways lined with bare branches clawing the sky. The estate loomed, manicured hedges hiding the rot within. Mom answered the door, eyes puffy, pulling me into a hug that smelled of Chanel and defeat. Oh, Gabriel. We've been waiting. Dad was in his study, decanter half empty, staring at ledgers like they held salvation. Lila huddled in the corner, knees to chest, looking small and spent. Gabe, she whispered as I entered. I didn't mean, save it, I snapped, the hurt raw. But seeing her, our childhood forts in the attic, her tears when boyfriends bailed, softened the edge. I turned to Dad. We need to talk. All of us. He looked up, face ashen. Son, about what Lila said. Not just that. I slapped the envelope on the desk. Photos spilled. Him and Tyler. Laughing on a beach. Hands linked. Viv's letters chronicled it. Hotel receipts. Coded emails. A love affair spanning a decade. The room sucked in breath. Mom gasped, hand fluttering. Lila's eyes widened. Dad. Crumpled. Ow. Doesn't matter, I said, voice steel. You built this family on lies. Condemn me for mine while hiding yours. Hypocrite. He rose, trembling. It's not, Gabriel. You don't understand. Your mother and I, we had an arrangement. Early on. But Tyler, his voice broke. He's my heart. Always has been. Mom's sobs shattered the air. Edward, all these years, Lila bolted upright. You both lied? To us? To Gabe. The dam broke. Accusations flew. Mom's quiet affairs with the tennis pro. Dad's rage masking shame. Lila's outing born of her own buried pain. A crush on her best friend she'd never voiced. Fearing the family curse. We tore into each other, wounds festering and fresh, until exhaustion claimed us. Huddled in the study, amid spilled scotch and scattered photos, truths emerged like dawn after tempest. I outed you to feel less alone, Lila confessed, tears soaking my shirt. If you weren't perfect, maybe I didn't have to be, and I hid to protect you all, Dad murmured. head and hands. The firm, the legacy, it's all ash now. Mom reached for him. Tentative. We rebuild. Or we end it. By evening, fragile truces formed. No grand forgiveness. Just halting steps, therapy sessions booked, a family meeting with Viv. I texted Daniel. Storms passed. Come over? His reply, always. But as night fell, another text pinged from Tyler. Heard about the dinner. We need to meet. There's more you should know. More? The secrets, it seemed, had layers yet unpeeled. And as I stared at the glowing screen, Daniel's key turning in the lock, I wondered if truth was salvation or just another cage. Tyler's message lingered like a bad aftertaste, promising revelations I wasn't sure I craved. Daniel arrived with pizza, plain cheese, his go-to comfort, and we ate on the living room floor of the Greenwich guest house, boxes open like confessional booths. I'd retreated there after the family summit, needing space from the main house's echoing silences. More secrets, Daniel echoed, wiping sauce from his lip. Your dad's got a secret love child or something? I snorted, the absurdity cutting tension. Wouldn't shock me. Goldsteins collect skeletons like Faberge eggs. But beneath the joke, unease churned. Tyler Voss, broker of luxury escapes, enabler of dad's double life. What more could he offer? Absolution? Blackmail? Daniel nudged my knee with his. Whatever it is, face it with backup. I'm in. His steadiness anchored me. A lighthouse in fog. We made love that night, not as escape, but affirmation, slow explorations that mapped forgiveness on skin. You're my north, I whispered afterward, tracing the curve of his shoulder. He smiled, sleepy and sure. And you're the stars. Morning brought resolve. I texted Tyler. When and where? Reply. The boathouse. Central Park. Noon. Bring your fighter. Daniel, ever the public defender, grinned at the moniker. Let's go unearth some bones. The boathouse was a jewel in the park's crown, romantic rowboats bobbing on the lake, willows draping like veils. Tyler waited at an outdoor table, mid-40s but boyish, with sun-bleached hair and a linen shirt rolled at the cuffs. He rose as we approached, extending a hand tan from Hampton's decks. Gabriel. And you must be Daniel. Edwards told me. Everything. The possessiveness in Edward twisted something in me. Jealousy? For the father I'd lost to illusions? We sat, ordering iced teas that sweated in the crisp air. Start talking, I said, direct as a deposition. What's the more? Tyler leaned forward, eyes scanning for eavesdroppers. It's not just an affair. Your dad, Edward, he's been funding my life for years. But not with firm money. It's from a trust. One he set up for. Contingencies. He slid a folder across. Bank statements. Transfers to offshore accounts. Labeled Voss Family Trust. I flipped pages. Numbers blurring. Medium. Siphoned subtly over a decade. Embezzlement. Not quite. Tyler's voice dropped. The trust was your grandfather's, old money from shipping, tangled in trusts to avoid taxes. Edward discovered loopholes, redirected funds to us, to build something real. A life. Post coming out. Daniel whistled. Bold. But why tell me now? Because Lila's not done digging. Tyler's jaw tightened. She hacked your dad's email. Teenage rebellion meets tech savvy. Found the transfers. She's threatening to go public unless he steps down as senior partner. Lets her take a stake in the firm. She's unraveling. Gabriel. Blaming him for the family rot. For making you the golden boy while she scrapes for scraps. Fury ignited. Lila, my ally turned arsonist. Wielding financial ruin like a torch. After her tearful apologies, She's destroying us to save herself. Tyler nodded. Edward's torn. He wants to confess to the partners, to your mom, but fears it'll tank everything. Including you. Me. The heir apparent. Now collateral in Dad's deception. Daniel's hand found mine under the table. Squeezing. We stop her. Together. The walk back through the park was a strategy session. Leaves crunching underfoot like brittle plants. Daniel advocated confrontation. I leaned toward mediation. Viv's therapist touch. But doubt gnawed. How deep did Lila's hurt run? Back at the guest house. I called her. No answer. Voicemail. Sis. We know about the emails. Meet me. Tonight. Neutral ground. Mom's garden. She showed at dusk. Bundled in a wool coat against the chill. Eyes red-rimmed. The garden was a winter skeleton. Rose bushes pruned to thorns. Fountain silent. Gabe, she started. Voice small. I didn't. You did. I cut her off. Anger honed. Hacking Dad? Threatening the firm? For what? A bigger slice of the pie. She flinched. Hugging herself. It's not about money. It's about us. You got the love. The praise. I got try harder. Lila. And when I found out about you, about Daniel, it was like, if even the golden boy's broken, why hide mine? But Dad. His secrets made me snap. The hypocrisy fueled me. Daniel stepped forward, calm as a counselor. We get it. Hurt breeds hurt. But this, it's scorched earth. No winners. Tears spilled. I just wanted him to feel exposed. Like I did when he dismissed my art school dreams for practical internships. Like you must have, Gabe, carrying that weight alone. Empathy cracked my resolve. We sat on the stone bench. The three of us, spilling confessions under the emerging stars. Lila admitted her own quiet queerness, a fluid ache for her roommate at Parsons. Uncharted and unnamed. I outed you to test the waters. If the family survived that, maybe mine too. I pulled her close. The hug fierce. It almost drowned us. But we're still swimming. Promises exchanged. No leaks. Family therapy. Dad's confession on his terms. She left lighter. A ghost of reconciliation. Daniel and I lingered. His arm around me as frost nipped the air. Proud of you, he murmured. Navigating this minefield. But peace was fleeting. That night, as we drove back to the city, Radio City twinkling like false promises, my phone lit with a news alert. Goldstein and Associates senior partner faces embezzlement probe. Anonymous tip to the Times. Details matching Tyler's folder. Lila? Or a leak from the partners? Smelling blood? Dad called as we hit the bridge. Voice shattered. It's out. Son. The board's convening. Everything's gone. Daniel gripped the wheel tighter. Pull over. We rallied. We detoured to the firm, glass tower piercing the night sky like an accusation. Dad waited in the lobby. Ty ask you. Tyler at his side, hand on his elbow. Mom arrived minutes later. Cab disgorging her in a flurry of fur and fury. Lila burst in last. Face ashen. I didn't tip them. Swear. The boardroom was a coliseum. Stern faces. Spreadsheets projected like guillotines. Dad stood, owning it, not excuses, but facts, the trust's gray areas. Love's cost. I strayed, he said, voice steady for the first time. But the firm's integrity holds. I'll step down, make restitution. Murmurs rippled. Tyler testified quietly. Funds for a life built in shadows. No malice. Daniel jumped in. Legal mind sharp. Precedents. Settlements. A path to salvage. I spoke last. Throat tight. This family's flawed. But so's the system we defend. Let this be redemption, not ruin. Hours blurred into dawn. By sunrise, a deal. Dad resigns quietly. Partial repayment. No charges if the trust's audited clean. The firm survives, scarred but standing. Exhausted, we spilled onto the street. City waking to horns and steam. Hugs exchanged, tentative with Dad. Tearful with Mom. Bone-crushing with Lila. Tyler lingered. Eyes on Dad. We start fresh. Dad nodded. A ghost of a smile. Yeah. Fresh. Daniel and I walked to his car, shoulders brushing. High tide, he said, bumping me. You surfed it. But as we pulled away, my phone buzzed again. Viv. One more layer. Kid. Meet at the cabin. Urgent. The Catskills called. That lakeside dock waiting like a siren song. What final secret could shatter us now? The drive to the cabin was a quiet unraveling. The thruway giving way to winding roads flanked by snow-dusted pines that whispered warnings. Daniel drove, his free hand laced with mine, thumb stroking absently, a habit that steadied my pulse. Viv's text had been cryptic, not what you think. But it changes everything. Bring Daniel. The probe's fallout still echoed. Dad's resignation splashed across legal blogs. Mom retreating to a spa in Scottsdale for reflection. Lila crashing with friends. Vowing space. We'd patched the immediate wounds, but scars itched, promising infection. You think it's about the trust? Daniel ventured. Headlights carving tunnels through dusk. Or Dad's past. I stared at passing billboards. Happy families hawking cars. Lies in 30-second spots. Viv's always been the keeper of ghosts. The cabin emerged like a memory, weathered logs. Porch light flickering against the encroaching night. Viv waited inside, fire crackling. A pot of chili simmering, her signature comfort. Spicy enough to burn regrets. She hugged us fiercely, her embrace carrying the weight of decades. Sit. Eat. Then the hard part, over bowls that steamed with cumin and revelation. She laid it out. No folder this time, just words, heavy as heirlooms. Your grandfather, Elias Goldstein, Elias the Patriarch, shipyard kingpin in the 50s, wasn't just ruthless in business. He was. She paused, eyes distant. Complicated. Ran rum during Prohibition. Sure, but post-war, he covered for McCarthy, named names, buried others, including his own brothers. My spoon clattered. Uncle Theo, the one who emigrated to Canada. Viv nodded, stirring her chili like a cauldron. Theo was gay. Outed in the Lavender Scare, government purges of subversives. Elias turned him in to save the family name. Theo vanished, suicide. They said, but I found letters last year, in the attic safe. He fled to Montreal, lived in shadows till the end. Bitter, broken. Wrote to Elias, your gold is fool's. Brother. It devours its own. The fire popped, embers mirroring the burn in my chest. Daniel's grip tightened. And Dad knew. Bits. Viv's voice softened. Elias confessed on his deathbed, made Edward promise to protect the legacy by any means. That's why the double life, fear of history repeating. He saw himself in Theo, hiding to survive. When you came out, Gabe, it wasn't just shock. It was terror. Of losing you like Elias lost Theo. Tears pricked, hot and unbidden. Dad, not monster, but man molded by monsters. The golden sun, forged in the same fire. Why now? After everything. Because Lila's digging hit patered. Viv slid a yellowed envelope across. Theo's script. Elegant loops pleading for reconciliation. She found the safe combo in Dad's old desk. Read these. Then burn them, thinking it'd end the cycle. But screenshots went to a reporter, anonymous. Like the probe tip. She's protecting you, in her twisted way, ending the secrets so you don't inherit them. Rage and grief ward. Lila, again, impulsive guardian, wielding destruction like a shield. Daniel cleared his throat. We confront. As a family. No more solos. We stayed the night. The cabin a womb of wood smoke and whispers. Daniel and I walked to the dock under a canopy of stars. The lake a black mirror reflecting our silhouettes. Mist curled like spirits, and I leaned into him, his coat enveloping us both. This legacy, it's poison. Not all. His breath warmed my ear. You turned it to antidote. Outing. Embezzlement. Ghosts, we faced them. That's the real gold. We kissed there, deep and anchoring, the world reduced to lake lap and heartbeat. No urgency, just the poetry of persistence. Two men rewriting fates in frost-kissed air. Dawn brought action. We rallied the family via video. Dad in his study, looking gaunt but resolute. Mom from her hotel, composed in silk. Lila from a Brooklyn loft, eyes haunted. Viv mediated as Theo's letters scanned and shared. Words bridging graves. Why burn them? I asked Lila, screen grainy but her flinch clear. To bury the hate, she said, voice cracking. Theo's pain, it's ours. I leaked to force Dad to own it, to stop the hiding. But Gabe, I swear, the probe wasn't me. Someone else knew. Dad leaned in, pixels aging him. The reporter? From Elias's old firm. A descendant. Maybe. Doesn't matter. We into here. Confessions cascaded. Mom admitting her own silences. Complicit in the charade. Dad vowing to donate the trust remnants to queer advocacy. Theo's redemption fund. Lila pledged art over ambition. Therapy over torches. Me? I resigned from the firm, partnering with Daniel on his nonprofit dream. Legal aid for LGBTQ plus youth. Turning family fractures into bridges. The call ended in tears and toasts. Virtual champagne popped in mugs. To Theo, Dad said, raising his. And us. Weeks blurred into healing. Daniel and I moved into a brownstone in Harlem, his mom's block, alive with jazz spilling from windows and neighbors who nodded like kin. I started sessions with Viv, unpacking the golden boy's armor. He thrived in the chaos. His laugh louder in our shared space. One spring evening, as cherry blossoms dusted the park like confetti, we hosted the family, first reunion post-storm. Dad arrived with Tyler, hands linked openly, Mom on his arm with a wry smile. Lila brought sketches, portraits of us all, raw and real. Laughter filled the air, mingled with stories, Theo's hidden life romanticized, not reviled. As dusk fell, Daniel pulled me to the Bethesda terrace, arches framing the skyline. Marry me, he asked. Ring simple, gold band etched with stars. Not a question, a constellation. Yes, I breathed, the word a vow. Around us, the city pulsed diverse, defiant, a tapestry of truths. But closure's a myth, echoes linger. Months later, a letter arrived, postmarked Montreal, from Theo's estranged son, heard about the family. Proud. Let's talk. Another thread, but this one woven with hope. In the end, exposure wasn't ruin. It was excavation digging to light, where secrets starve and love, battered but bold, bloomed. We Goldsteins weren't golden anymore. We were human, flawed, fierce, free, and in Daniel's arms, under that same starry dome, I finally believed it.